So recording, we've just discussed the details of the exam, online exam next week. For the recording, a recap, I started the recording a little late. We've just discussed all the details of the exam, what's going to be included in the exam, what are you going to expect on the exam, how long it's going to take, all of those details. Any questions? I see a question here. Professor, at what time will the exam start? At what time will the exam start? Let's start 10. Let's start 10 o'clock. And I will think about how much time to give you. Either 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. So I'll set a Moodle deadline to submit your Excel files to either 12 o'clock or maybe 12:30. I'll think about that. Let's start at 10 o'clock next Tuesday. More questions about the exam? So all calculations are sort of going to be different for all of you, because your questions will be based on your student ID, right? So the type of questions is the same. The calculation numbers are all different. All answers are different, right? Now, I think for financial management, just 2 decimal places after the decimal point is fine. Should be enough, okay? Sometimes though, if your answer is something related to APR, AER, something about rates, right? IRR, that's a rate as well. 2 decimal places actually might not be enough. If the answer is, let's say, 11.2%, 11.2%, and your answer with 2 decimal places says 0.11, that's more like 11% rather than 11.2%, right? So okay, another rule for the exam: 3 decimal places. Okay, 3 decimal places after the decimal point. Okay. Questions about the exam? So what we're going to do today is we'll go over several examples just to review the material we've covered over the last half a semester, right? I hope you follow, because I try to prepare you for the exam. I know what's going to be on the exam, right? But of course, I don't cover everything that's on the exam. Otherwise, the exam will be too easy. You just copy-paste the solutions, change the numbers, change the inputs, that's all. So review what we're going to do today, but there might be some other topics that will be on the exam, but not covered today, okay? And this recording might go to the MOE, this sort of a special e-learning course, right? So I'm going to check attendance now. In the next 30 seconds, attendance. In the next 30 seconds, can you please type your student ID in the chat? How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 13, yes? 13, and how many are we here? We are 15 students, 16 with me. That's another couple of you guys who haven't entered your student IDs, yeah? Well, another 10 seconds. So while we're waiting, it's really, what is it, foggy today, right? A lot of fog. So earlier in the morning, the fog was even denser. Right now you can barely see that Ferris wheel over there, but about an hour ago you couldn't even see any of those buildings. You couldn't see any of these buildings. It's quite interesting. It's pretty foggy right now. The fog is quite dense. So it's foggy. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone! Happy New Year. It's the first time we see each other, kind of see each other, since the New Year.
Happy New Year, Professor.
Thank you, thank you. I love New Year. I really love New Year. This is my most favorite holiday for a whole year. And that's because in our culture, that's the biggest holiday. We don't celebrate Christmas. So New Year is the biggest holiday and I really love it. Just like a lot of people, I guess, in the West really like Christmas. That's their biggest holiday, right? A lot of people here in the East love the Lunar New Year. Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, also celebrated in many Asian countries, right? So instead, our biggest holiday for a whole year is New Year. So I really love it. And I think I already told you guys, but all these presents that the kids get for Christmas in the West, in our culture, they get for New Year. And in our culture, Christmas tree is translated literally in our words into New Year tree, right? And Santa in our culture comes at night between 31st of December and 1st of January rather than for Christmas. So yeah, great, love the New Year, very big deal. Yeah, so we decorate this New Year tree or Christmas tree, how you call it. It's really amazing. It's really kind of good fun to prepare the presents. Yes, see the kids' reactions. Yeah. Okay, no more entries here for the attendance. So I don't know. Looks like we are 16, including me, 15 students, but looks like there are only 13 entries. I'm not sure. Maybe I miscounted. So scroll again, so I can check on the recording later. Right. Now unpin myself, and we can switch to. We can. Oh, I'm trying to share screen, but sorry, an error has occurred when screen sharing. I'll try again. Let's switch to an Excel file. There's an Excel file. I don't think you guys see the Excel file. Okay, allow. I think now you guys do see the Excel file. Do you guys see the Excel file?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, so I just prepared several questions here. We'll try to answer them together. And that'll be sort of your preparation for the exam. That's our plan for today. Okay, nothing very difficult. So let's have a look at the first one. A broker offers you an investment that is an annuity that lasts for 8 years, pays you 100,000 NT every year, annual payments. But the first payment is not next year, so that's the tricky part. The first payment is 5 years from now, right? The interest rate to value this annuity is 3.5%. How much is the maximum you are willing to pay for this annuity? Okay. So as I said, the first most important thing for the exam is don't be late, okay, because you have a limited amount of time to submit the exam. Second most important thing for the exam, once you're on the exam, if you are not late, then the first most important thing is to understand the question. Everything else is going to be easy. The computer is going to find the solutions for you. If you enter the correct formula, everything is very, very easy. Just hit equals PV, hit equals FV, whatever. It's very easy. Most important is you need to understand what's the question. You need to know what you are doing. You need to be thinking, right? Not just copying somebody's answers. So most important thing is to understand the question and what the question asks from you. If you know what you want to solve for, everything else will be easy. So here, how much am I maximum willing to pay for this annuity? If I buy it now, I will receive money in future. So I have cash outflow right now and cash inflows in the future. So today, right now, presently, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to pay for it. So if this amount that I'm happy enough to pay for this annuity is the question, then what do I need to calculate? How do you guys think? Today, presently, I have to buy, I might want to buy this annuity. So what do I calculate? Any ideas? Is it NPV or is it modified internal rate of return, MIRR? Is it FV, future value? Is it PV, present value? Any ideas?
Professor, is it PV?
Yes, it's PV. Presently, today, I'm going to pay for it. Okay, but the trick is I can't just do equals PV, open the brackets, the rate 0.035, 3.5%, number of periods 8, and I'm gonna get a PMT of 100,000 every year. Unfortunately, this is not so easy. This would be the answer if the first payment is next year. You see, this would be the answer if the first payment is next year. Let's go to Paint so I can try to illustrate what I'm trying to tell you. So that simple solution would be the answer if we were looking for present value today for a stream of 8 payments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, each with 100,000, starting next year, and so on, right? In that case, yes, things are that easy with a discount rate of 3.5%. But in this problem, what we see is that payments start 5 years later, not next year. So that's year 1, that's today 0, that's year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The payments will last for 8 years. They will start 5 years later. 5 plus 8 is 13. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I think I will need 13 years. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes. Okay. And the payments, 5 years later, that will be 100. Let me stretch it a little. Another 100, another 100. Okay, is it 8 payments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we have one too many. 8 payments starting from year 5 for 8 years. Okay, so if I just use this formula PV equals PV and so on, that gives me the present value 1 year before the first payment, right? So if I just use this formula, this red answer over here is the answer that comes up 1 year before all of this regular cash flow stream over here. So at the end of year 4, the present value of all of this future cash flow is 687,000, something like that. In thousands, right? Okay. But I wonder how much am I happy enough to pay today? So one way to deal with it is to discount each of these 100s one by one. the first 100 discounted into today by 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus this next 100 discounted into today by 6 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for each of them I could have equals PV 3.5%, 5 years for the first 100, right? And it's just 100, so there are no regular payments. I just break them down each into separate investments, then add up all the numbers. Or instead of doing all of that, I don't have to do all of that. I could just take this amount, the present value at the end of year 4, and discount it again into today. Okay, so I take this amount again. Let me just kill the negative sign. And discount it again into today equals PV, open the brackets, at the same rate. In this case, number of periods is 4, because I want to bring this amount from 4 years later into today. So 4. No PMTs, I'm just looking at one amount right now. So this is that amount. Okay. So today's value of all of this cash flow is a bit smaller than the regular formula says, because it's further into the future. So 599 is smaller than 687. That makes sense. The answer is 599,000. Okay, this is the answer. And for the exam, whether your answer is negative or positive, it doesn't matter. I will accept both answers as long as the numbers are correct. Okay, so whether your answer is negative or positive, it doesn't really matter. I will accept both answers correct. Next question today, you're going to take out a 4-year loan of 2 million. The interest rate is 5% per year. The loan is repaid with equal annual payments. Prepare an amortization schedule for this loan. Okay, so the beginning balance, let's say, what else do we have in the amortization table? We have accrued interest. We have PMT, and we have the remaining balance, let's say, right? So 1, 2, 3 is going to be paid back in 4 years. Yes, let's see, 4. Okay, so at the beginning of the first year, that's actually today, the beginning of the first year. The end of the first year is, okay, let's go back here. If I zoom in here, this is the first year. Today is the beginning of the first year. Where I see number 1 over here, that's the end of the first year. So this is all first year right now. This is today, this is the end of this year. There's the remaining balance by the end of the year, and the beginning balance by the beginning of the year. So today I got the loan of 2 million. How much do I owe the bank today? It's 2 million. Like this, right? How much will I owe the bank by the end of the year? Well, during this year, some interest will add up, or accrued interest. Some interest will add up on the 2 million, minus what I will pay to repay the loan. That will be the remaining balance, right? So it's going to be original balance plus the interest that will accumulate, that will accrue, that will add up during this year, minus what I will pay back, right? Okay. So far, we don't have any payments, no interest, so that's same 2 million. Now let's see how much interest will accrue. That's 5% per year, so equals 0.05 times this amount. Of course, 100,000 in the first year. And how much will I pay back? Well, I need to calculate that. I want to be able to repay the loan in 4 years, so my PMT is going to be equal to PMT, open the brackets. What's the rate? 5%, 0.05. Number of periods, I want to pay back in 4. Present value of this whole loan, at the beginning today, presently, I received 2 million. Future value, hopefully 0. I will not owe anything to the bank by the end of the loan. So I'll just close the brackets. So every year I need to pay more than 564,000 to repay the loan in 4 years. Okay. Control C. Let me just enter this. Oh, and maybe let me just kill the negative sign. That makes, otherwise this thing is kind of getting confused. It's increasing. My balance that I owe to the bank actually grows from 2 million to more than 2.5. So let me just kill the negative sign here, right? Kill the negative sign. Control C, Control V, Control V. There it is. Okay. Next, at the beginning of the second year, on the 1st of January, year 2, how much do I owe the bank? Well, there is not much difference between the 31st of December, year 1, and 1st of January, year 2. There's almost no difference. So I'm just going to put the same number here. Somebody just joined. There. Okay. So same number here. Once you've done this, then you can copy everything. Okay. So copy this, and copy this. And the last thing you need to do is check if this is 0. If your calculations are correct, then this must be 0. In this case, it's nearly 0. It's 0.0000000019. That's what it shows. E minus 09. That's because of the rounding I made over here, because I entered these numbers by hand. Oh, no, I didn't enter them by hand. I copy-pasted, but I changed, instead of a formula, I copy-pasted the numbers. So let's see. Can I just Control-C, Control-V, Control-V, Control-V? There. So instead, if I enter it as a formula, not even paste as a number, that gives me zeros. In the previous example, I also had basically 0. It was 0.0000000019. So if this is 0, then it's more likely that your calculations are correct, because by the end of the amortization table, by the end of the life of the loan, you hopefully owe nothing to the bank, right? Okay, so there's the table. And in the actual exam, there might be different questions for the table. Maybe, let's say, I'll ask you how much you still owe to the bank by the end of month 8. So that's the remaining balance at the end of month 8. Right? Or I could ask you how much is the accrued interest during month 3, something like that. In this case, it's years, but in the exam, it's probably going to be months, right? Anyway, something like that. These are the first 2. Any questions so far? So far, so good? Okay. All right. Let's continue then. Am I back in Excel file? I think you guys look at the Excel file. Okay. Your company needs to raise 550 million. You need to decide. You've decided to do it by issuing a 10-year bond, semi-annual coupon. The coupon rate is 5%. Face value is 50,000. Market interest rate is 6%. How many bonds you have to issue to raise this amount of money? So basically, you need 550 million for your business. You decide to get that amount of money to raise that capital, to finance that capital by selling bonds. This is some information about the bonds, and the question is how many bonds you have to sell. How many bonds you have to sell? Okay. What do we need for this? Let's say, for example, I simplify the question. I'm going to ask you, so prepare to answer the question. Let's say you need to raise 10,000 NT, and you do it by selling chairs. You sell chairs, and you need to collect 10,000 NT by selling chairs. If I ask you how many chairs you have to sell, what are you going to ask me back? So you sell chairs, and to pay for this semester, you need 10,000 NT. How many chairs do you need to sell? What's your question back? Can you answer this question directly?
No, Professor. Because we need to know the price for the shares.
Exactly. You need to know how much you are selling the shares for, of course. So the same thing here. We need to know the price of the bond first, and then we can answer this question. Okay? So again, you just need to understand the question. You just need to think a little bit to understand what you need to calculate. The rest should be fine, right? First, we need to calculate the price of the bond. Okay, if you buy the bond today, you pay its price, and in future it will pay you something. So the price is present value, right? Equals PV, open the brackets. Rate. There are two interest rates here. One is coupon rate, one is the interest rate. So we should, for rate, we include the interest rate. The coupon rate determines the regular payments that the bond makes. Okay, so the rate is 6%. But remember, all percentages are based on an annual basis. But the bond pays coupon payment twice a year. It's a semi-annual. And remember to make sure we're not dealing with apples versus oranges. We need to come down with everything to the smallest minimum period. So we need to come down to semi-annual periods. Divide everything by 2. So the rate is 3% per half a year. Number of periods. In half a year periods, in this case, again, we come down to the smallest period, right? Number of periods, it's a 10-year bond, so we have 20 half a year periods. Regular payments. Regular payments is the 5% out of the face value of 50,000. Remember, everything is on an annual basis, so that's paid per year. In which case, on a semi-annual basis, in half a year, you get half of that, which is 2.5% times 50,000, right? And the face value is 50,000 there. Okay. So the price of the bond is 46,280.63 NT. Okay, and to raise this amount of money, you need to sell equals 550,000,000 divide by negative this, kill the negative sign. You need to raise 11,885 bonds, because if you raise, you cannot raise half a bond. You cannot raise a fraction of a bond. I mean, you cannot sell a fraction of a bond. So if you sell 11,884 bonds, right? Each at the price of 46,280.63 NT, you will not have enough money to pay for that factory. You'll have just a little less, not enough. Okay? You will need another, what is that? 978 NT, 979 NT. Just a little less than you need. So, for when you are selling things like this, you must always round up, because otherwise you cannot sell a fraction of a bond. You cannot sell half a bond. Although this is showing dollars, this is actually bonds, right? Number of bonds. So and so if you round, as we usually do in mathematics, okay, let's round that. Where is it? It's move this. Hey, it's this now. This button. If I just sell 11,004 bonds, I will not have enough money. Just a little less. So we need to round up. Anyway, let's move on. 1, 2, 3, fourth problem, and perhaps we'll leave another couple for after the break. So you got a credit card, and you went for holidays. Instead of paying cash, you paid with a credit card, 60,000. So you got a balance on the credit card. Okay, the balance on the credit card is just like an immediate or just like an instant loan. You'll have to pay for that balance. Oh, not balance, but balance. You'll have to pay for that balance over the next few months, and the interest rates on credit cards are usually much higher than on regular loans. So I'll say 12% APR. Okay, calculated monthly. Of course, APR is annual percentage rate, but the compounding is monthly in this case. And let's say you plan to repay this loan in 2 years, right? We got a couple of questions here. How much do you have to pay every month, and how much is the effective annual rate? Okay. So how much you need to pay every month? How much you need to pay every month? What do we know from regular cash flows? From multiple cash flow streams. We know PV, we know FV, we know NPR, we know rate, and we know PMT. Okay, we know these 5. If I want to find out how much do I need to pay every month to repay the loan, which of these 5 do you think you have to calculate? Anyone?
PMT.
Yes, PMT. So let's do it. Equals PMT, open the brackets. The rate, 12. But again, we need to bring down everything to the smallest period. In this case, it's monthly. I'm going to pay every month, and the balance is recalculated every month. So we divide that by 12 because there are 12 months in the year, not because it's 12 and 12. So if, let's say, the problem says that APR is 16%, I'm going to have equals PMT, open the brackets, 16, again, divide by 12. It doesn't have to be the same number here, of course. We divide by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. That's because it's monthly compounding. We could have a problem in the exam with quarterly compounding, then divide by 4, because there are 4 quarters in the year. Okay, so number of periods. I want to repay in 2 years, but I'm counting in months this time, so it's going to be 2 times 12, 24 months in a 2-year period. Okay. Presently, I owe 60,000. Okay. In the future, hopefully, I will not owe anything, so either 0 or you can just delete it, doesn't matter. The answer will be the same. So every month I need to pay 2,938 NT to repay the loan in 2 years. Okay. The bank charges me 16% per year, kind of. It's average, annual percentage rate. But that, remember, when we talked about annual percentage rate, just before the midterms, this is the last chapter before the midterms, also going to be included in the final. We said that APR does not include interest on interest, right? If we calculate interest only once per year, then APR is the same as the effective annual rate because there is no interest on interest inside the year. We only calculate the balances once a year. But if we calculate balances more than once a year, like here we calculated monthly, then there is interest on interest inside the year. So actually I'm going to pay even more than 16% per year, right? So to calculate this actual interest rate that I have to pay, effectively how much am I going to pay in interest rates? I'm going to look at effective annual rate, right? And if you open your Moodle notes for effective annual rate, where was it? I think maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to scare you a little bit. The formula there is very, 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 very big, but luckily in Excel, it's very easy. Effect, and open the brackets. Okay. Nominal rate, that's the APR. Nominal rate in the formula is the APR, so we put 16. And then NPERY. Right? If I zoom in here, this hint that Excel gives does not increase in size. So if I zoom in a little here, the hint that I get does not increase in size. Effect, open the brackets. You see the hint is still small, so I hope you can see it. The nominal rate is APR, that's 16%. And the next hint here is NPERY. It's not the same as NPR. There is an extra letter Y there, that's number of periods inside a year, not the total number of periods in this loan. The total number of periods in this loan is 24 periods. You're going to pay over 24 months, right? But NPRY is 12 because there are 12 small periods inside 1 year. Again, the brackets, 16, and this is 12. This is not NPR, it's NPRY, number of periods inside a year, only 12, because it's monthly compounding. If we have quarterly compounding, you put 4 here. If we have semi-annual compounding, you put 2 here. If we have daily compounding, you put 365 here. That's also possible. Weekly compounding, 52 weeks in 1 year. Okay, in this case, 12 months in 1 year. So actually, I'm going to pay more than 17.2% on this loan. Oh my God. Because of interest on interest inside the year, which APR doesn't show. Instead, it's shown by EAR, effective annual rate. Effective annual rate. Okay, so these are some examples. We'll continue after the break. So far, any questions? So far, so good. Any questions? Right, so if I'm not mistaken, Google Meets only allows 1 hour for non-premium Google members, something like that. So we're going to disconnect now, and I'm going to send you a new link 15 minutes or so later on Moodle for the next class, okay? See you soon. I'll check attendance, come back, all right? See you.